not going to work. And I worry about him selling. I don't think he sells as a babyface, which is unfortunate. But the same could be said, Matt, about Kevin Owens, who was very much somewhat over at the beginning. Of course, Jericho was the guy, but I don't want to keep saying that phrase either, the guy. But even I'm saying it now. But Matt, what did you make of that match and the aftermath of what happened? And yeah, your sum up of that.
Okay, right. Yeah, I get what was on the line in this match. I get the heavyweight title was on the line, and it's the main event because of this reason. But that's the only thing, isn't it? Really, that was main event about this match.
Mm-hmm.
And even halfway through it, Kevin Owens is talking to Roman Reigns, and he's like, "Well, your title's not on the line, is it?" And I'm thinking, good point.
Yeah.
Why is Roman's title not on the line?
Yeah.
And then straight away from that, I'm thinking, did Kevin Owens just kill this match? Did he just tell us that he has to win?
Yeah.
Because there's no way that Owens is going to have the heavyweight title and the US title and make Roman look weaker than he is. There's no chance of that. That kind of killed it about halfway through the match. But yeah, and the ending, oh, can I tell you, diabolical or what? And to be a fan there on that night, that must have been awful. Just to have this whole thing, Jericho has been looking very upset with Kevin Owens, comes down, hits Kevin Owens, and you're thinking, okay, maybe we'll get some light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe there'll be a good match between Jericho and Kevin Owens. And then hugging him, confusing or what for the fans? I was confused. And then, they tried to do what we were talking about, I think last time we did a King of the Ring, we was talking about how they send the fans home happy, but with the result that the company wanted. And that was, to have the faces get the last laugh, attacking the heels and laying them out. But this was just too much kind of like, do you remember the Shield? The good times we used to have? I was like, no, because you're missing the third member for a start.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Yeah, it was just, it was diabolical. I felt like the ending was just, I mean, it was so overdone. I mean, like, as soon as Jericho done that, I was like, oh, that it? Was that the turn? And then when you saw him hugging, I was like, oh, it's even worse. Like, they've done all this. This was at best, Matt, a Raw kind of thing. What we saw there. This is something that happens on Raw. And again, I think I've said this before. This whole thing between Jericho and Kevin Owens, it's kind of like it's a storyline that I'm used to seeing in the Intercontinental level. I'm not used to seeing this kind of stuff happening for the heavyweight title belt. I feel like it really has devalued Kevin Owens a lot. Like his rep has gone down. Like, and it proves the point that the belt doesn't always make the wrestler. The wrestler has to make the belt, and I feel like it's certainly this run he's had has not helped him because from the get go he's been helped by Triple H to reasons we still don't really know, and now of course Jericho, and it's so unfortunate. I mean, this was a time, Matt, where Kevin Owens beats Roman Reigns clean. All of a sudden he's got some big momentum. But of course, they don't like doing that. They don't like giving the big rubs on perhaps a guy that they still have, I will say, a very slight twinkle in their eye that it's still going to prevail for Roman Reigns. So I felt like they protected him, which was very interesting that they did that, because the only one that come out of this well was probably Roman Reigns. But I think it wasn't good. It wasn't pay-per-view material for me. I know this happens a lot, but I did not enjoy it one bit at all. Matt, going forward for Kevin Owens, what is kind of next for that belt, and going into the Rumble? Do you think?
Oh, this is so hard to predict now. What do you do with Kevin Owens now? He's definitely come off looking a lot weaker in this match. And it does bring into question, like, does he need Jericho for every match that he does? Because he's starting to look like if he doesn't have Jericho, he will lose, because that's what we've seen in the past on Raws. When Jericho hasn't been there, he lost, and then that was what happened to Roman Reigns and how he got his shot. And I hate these kind of championship runs. I mean, we spoke about it many times, haven't we? And they've had this kind of, even Seth Rollins went through this thing where he had to have J&J security and all that. It's just the worst kind of heel picture you can paint. Like, nobody wants to see that. I mean, I'm sure WWE is convinced that it's a winning formula because they keep going back to it. But it's just the worst kind of heel that I like to see. You know, I don't want to see it. But for Royal Rumble, you know, it's so hard to say because, you know, they keep bringing Seth Rollins into the picture like he's supposed to be Roman Reigns' buddy. But you'd think Roman Reigns should still hate him for all the things that he did. If someone tried to put your head through a cinder block, you know, you would be pretty annoyed. Probably for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, I was just, it's, you know, like I say, you know, they haven't done a good job. I mean, I don't really know. Like we said, you know, like I said, and we've said all along in this podcast, is Kevin Owens just a transitional champion, and are they waiting for WrestleMania period to come around where all of a sudden, you know, somebody comes and then you get the run into WrestleMania, and it's a whole, you know, everything in the last 6 months that's happened has almost been forgotten. I certainly hope not, but this hasn't been a good run. I really don't think that they've protected him well enough, and yeah, you know, not enough clean finishes. I mean, a heavyweight champion, regardless of whether they're heel or not, especially when they win the belt for the first time, has to get clean wins. I mean, it's just, it's not rocket science, but it has to happen. You know, I know you can be a bad guy, but he's not even like, he's not doing it. He's not doing the kind of like Ric Flair mode of just like, you know, absolute sucker punches all the time and low blows and all this kind of thing. Like, we're not even getting that. We're getting a really comedic kind of mid-card kind of storyline going on for what is essentially their heavyweight title belt, the Universal title as they call, which I, you know, still am not sold on that title as much as I am the women's since it's come around. So yeah, real disappointment there. We can only hope that things improve going into next year for Kevin Owens especially. Roman Reigns, on the other hand, well, listen, I'm pretty much going to hold my hands up now, Matt, and say that my pick for what I thought would happen, my bold prediction, is not going to happen. Roman is still your WWE face wrestler for 2016. It never happened. I can't believe it. Twists and turns of him this year, no doubt, and there were opportunities to do it, but WWE still absolutely thinks that it is going to work and prevail. Who knows what's in store for Roman Reigns going into WrestleMania next year, really. And the whole Seth Rollins and him, Matt, I mean, it's pretty, like you said, it's pretty naff to me that they're back as buddies all of a sudden. Like, I mean, how on earth has that come about? Like, honestly, you talk about needing short attention spans and, you know, remembering things. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, folks, that pretty much ends this first part of the podcast. Don't forget, guys, if you want to email the podcast, email us at the wrestlingskullpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, you can now you'll catch our second half of the podcast coming tomorrow. And again, if you hit the subscribe button, you're going to get all those podcasts dropped in there automatically. You won't even have to search it out; it will just drop, and you will have it. And in part 2, we're going to talk about all things. I will say, for a change for us in the UK, because it looks like our home soil is going to become somewhat of a battleground, if you believe a lot of the goings-on and reports in the media at the moment, which is very interesting. It's business-wise exciting as well, but you know, it'll be interesting to hear Matt and Matt's thoughts on this. And yes, until then, folks, until tomorrow, we'll see you then. Have a good one, guys.